And let's begin with big breaking news that's coming in this morning from the valley. Banker Vijay Kumar, who was shot dead by terrorists in his office, his murder has now been avenged by our forces. The terrorist who had gunned down and killed Vijay Kumar has been eliminated. The terrorist has been identified as Mohammed Lone of Shopian. Huge win for our forces there, who've been targeting these terrorists, who have been pulling out for these targeted killings in the valley. 2 LET terrorists have been killed in the Shopian encounter. Ashraf is joining us with more details on this. Ashraf, good morning. Another successful operation by our forces, particularly terrorists who've been carrying out these targeted killings in the last few weeks, are being identified, are being cornered by our forces.
Absolutely, Akshita. In fact, during the last 3 days, 2 killers of these targeted killings have been neutralized by the security forces. 2 days back, we have seen the Adil, who was responsible in the killing of Faizullah Qadri, the Jammu and Kashmir police constable in Sohra, Srinagar. He was killed in Srinagar encounter. Then today in the Shopian encounter, the killers of Vijay Kumar, who was assassinated by the terrorists on 2nd June, he has been also killed by the security forces in another operation in Shopian. In fact, it is the 3rd operation during last 24 hours in the Kashmir Valley. Yesterday, 3 Lashkar-e-Taiba militants were killed in an encounter in Bemina area of Srinagar, in which 2 were the Pakistanis, and then another encounter started in the Kulgam, which is still going on, and 3rd encounter started in the night in the Shopian district, in which 2 local Lashkar-e-Taiba militants had been killed, including the Jan Mohammed, who was responsible for the killing of the Jammu and Kashmir, the bank manager of the Alakai Dehati Bank in Kulgam in the earlier first week of this month, in fact. So the Jammu and Kashmir police is categorically saying that they have intensified these operations against those responsible for the targeted killings in the Kashmir Valley. In fact, we have seen a high-level meeting was taken by the Home Minister himself in Delhi, in which all the security agencies participated, and this strategy was adopted, that how these all militants will be killed who are responsible for those targeted killings which were carried out by these groups in the month of April and May.
Ashraf, also what we notice here in these recent attacks by these terrorists and our operations by our forces is that almost every single one of these targeted killings, it looks like, was carried out by the LET.
This was a new modus operandi which was adopted by the militant groups in the Kashmir Valley, where the specifically targeted killings were carried out by the hybrid militants, those militants who had not any kind of past in the crime activities or in the terror activities. So it was very difficult for the security forces to identify. They had some kind of clues about the CCTV footage or about some clues of these killings with them. And they adopted a strategy where massive combined search operations were carried out all across the Jammu and Kashmir, and then the link was just tried to ascertain that how these killings were carried out, who was responsible, who was giving the orders for these killings, and that is why we have seen the operations not only in the hinterland, but in fact in the LOCs areas where the foreign Lashkar-e-Taiba terror commanders mostly were operating, and they had been also killed in these series of operations. In fact, in 2022, now it is the month of June, so far we have seen in the Kashmir Valley more than 100, in fact 105 militants had been killed by the security agencies in different operations, which includes the large number of foreign terrorists, 31 of Pakistani origin. So that means that there is a grip by the security forces to just manage and maintain the law and order situation and to target specifically all those groups who are responsible for these terror attacks in the Kashmir Valley.
And a clear message being sent across to these terrorists, to anyone who tries to carry out these kind of attacks in the valley, that our forces then will narrow them down, will take them down. So this is a big development that's come in Shopian, an encounter. Our forces have managed to find that man that you see on your screen, the man who shot at banker Vijay Kumar just, in fact, a few weeks ago. Thanks, Ashraf, for joining us with all of those details.